Hello and welcome for the love of food. I would like to introduce you to the co-founder of Bridge the Gap Mission, Mr. Otis.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be asking him a series of questions today about his wonderful organization and also a little bit about him and his story and how he got started with all of this. So welcome, Mr. Otis.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
All right, tell us a little bit, first of all, about you.
Thank you so much. I was born in a place called McCormick, South Carolina in 1945. And I lived there until I was 12 or 13. And my family had to leave at night quickly. And I was the only one they left because they didn't have room for me to go. So I had to stay low-key in the woods or whatever I stayed. And I don't remember my family leaving. I mean, how they left or what they left, I know they left. For some reason, I don't remember. And I stayed there for about 3 or 4 weeks, a month, out. And finally they connected with me, and they had got enough money where they brought me up to New York with my brother, and I lived there.
And how old were you again?
About 13, 12, 13.
So here you are, 13 years old, on your own.
Right.
Kind of making your own way.
Yes.
How did you eat?
Well, I don't remember too much of that either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I don't remember. I don't remember nothing too much. Pieces I remember. But I do remember when they contacted my grandmother and said they had to give her a ticket for me to get on the bus. Mm-hmm. So I remember they took me to another town, Greenwood or Greenville, someplace. And that's why I took the bus to New York. And imagine a little kid getting off the bus in New York, so.
What year was this about?
Probably 1959, 60.
Wow.
Around that area.
Wow.
And I stayed in New York and went to school in New York for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And what amazed me, this is what really amazed me. I was that young, and I used to walk in the streets in New York. Mm-hmm. And I used to see these black men mm-hmm. with bow ties on, mm-hmm. and they would be selling newspapers. I didn't know what they were. They were young, and I had never seen a black man with a bow tie, and I had never seen it. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to know, and so I found out they were Muslims from the Nation of Islam. Oh. So they adopted me, and that's how I was raised from that point over in New Jersey.
Wow.
So my life started there. That was somewhat my foundation.
So lots of cultural diversity, yes. Religious diversity, yes. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah. And it continued.
Yeah.
All through my life, there's so many things that happened to me.
Yeah.
Life found me in different places, and I was so blessed because I run into some good people. One of the things that I must say, and this is important, is that I spent my entire life in hatred. I wouldn't say I was racist. I was corrupted. I was racist. I was all my life.
Angry,
yes. And but one thing that I found out in I'm gonna jump from there to 1979. Mm-hmm. I was out one day and I was arrested. Now I was not a law-abiding citizen always, mm-hmm. and the police arrested me for robbery without a gun. That's what they said. They had no idea who I was until they arrested me, mm-hmm. and I went to prison. Mm-hmm. I stood before a judge, and the judge gave me 2 life sentences. I had never been to a judge before. He gave
me robbing without a gun. You got 2 life sentences.
That's right. Well, you can always Google my name and you'll see a lot of stuff about that.
Wow.
But yeah, and I went to prison in Central Prison, 1979, and that was a culture shock. And I don't remember. There's 2 or 3 years it blanked out in the beginning. I really don't know too much about that, mm-hmm. but there was some good people coming in my life. And the first person came in my life was a police officer at Central Prison. And he was a sergeant. And he used to always tell me, you have no business here. And he said that I would be a great person at the governor's mansion. I had no idea what that was. And so, but I continued to work, and they sent me from Central Prison, they sent me to the farms. And when I got on the farm, nothing but food, nothing but potatoes and corn and everything you could name, 10,000 acres of it.
Wow.
And I had never been on the phone before. And that was the beginning of my life, because the people that I hated was the people that blessed me, that came into my life and gave me some encouragement. But the greatest encouragement was in 1994. I had never been to church in my life. And I was at a camp called Reedsville, North Carolina. And they had this preacher coming in that weekend. He was a white preacher, brought his church in. And that particular weekend, officer named Officer Jones in the prison. He was a black guy. He was a preacher. And he stopped me and searched me. And he said, well, I'm going to write you up, because I had too much money in my pocket. I was supposed to have $30. You know, I probably had more than that. But he said, I'm going to write you up. And he said, if you go to the church tonight, he said, I'll tear it right up. God be my witness. That was the furthest thing in my mind. And this man here, and I went to church. And I'm sitting up there in this place. You got 300 or 400 people sitting in this church. And this man was up screaming and hollering. I didn't understand nothing he said. And I was ready to leave, because I had business to take care of. So he finally stopped. And this is what he said. He said, if there's anybody here that would like to accept Christ, stand up. Now, why did I stand up? Even to this very day, I don't know why I stood up. I mean, people tell me, oh, it's the Holy Spirit. You can say that, you know. I mean, yes, but I could never understand me. So it was two people stood up. One was named, he stood up in the front. His name was Roger Blackstock. They say he stand up every week. And I stood up this, and this man there, and by the time I was standing there, two elderly white men came up to me and said, can we pray for you? I hear this voice in my head. This is clear. What are you doing? And I got ready to sit down, and they was reaching for me. They wanted to pray for me. First time in my life that everybody spoke to me that way. And they took me down on my knees, and I prayed. They prayed. I don't know what to pray. They prayed. And that was April 9th, 1994. It was a Saturday afternoon. And one of the men had a big old watch on. It was 7:15. And I never forgot that. And I went to the Muslims that day. And I told them, because I was the imam of the camp, and I told them that I had accepted Christ. They told me I was crazy. And the whole camp turned against me. The Christians wouldn't let me come to church. The Muslims didn't fool with me, you know. So I was kind of a lost person. Until the chaplain came to me and said, go to church. And I went to church, and my life was completely different. And people came in and ministered in all kinds of ways. So they ended up making me the chaplain on the camp. Anytime somebody had death in the family, they was incarcerated, locked up, they would come get me, go talk to them, let them know, etc. And that's how my life changed.
Wow.
But
so you started being a leader for other people, right?
Right.
Prior to that, did you see yourself in a leadership role?
Well, not in that particular way.
Yeah.
When you're in the world, which you have, even leaders, there's many leaders in the world, but they use the gift the wrong way.
Yeah.
My leadership was to get something, to do something, is to set up something, organize something, not for the good of all people, but for the good of myself and the people I deal with, but mainly myself.
Right.
But I've learned that as a leader, in Christ, I don't want to sound too religious, because I'm not, I love God, and that's my life. And I know who saved me, who helped me, but sometimes, as a leader in Christ, one of the greatest things in the world is to be able to do something to help someone else. And I discovered that. I discovered that the reason I was a racist, hated my heart, is because I didn't like myself. If you don't like yourself, you can only give that.
That's right.
But if you love yourself, see, I rediscovered my love. God had to rediscover that in my life. And now I love people. I don't care where they come from. There's not a person on this earth that I hate. I may not like their ways, but I can truly say that there's not a person that I hate. I mean, there's people that maybe get on my nerves, but so far as me hating them, no. If I hate them, then I'm hating God. because God created these people. And he created for a reason. I don't know the reason. I don't know his purpose. So I have to respect those people. And there's many people like that. So, and that's how my life started.
Wow. That's quite a story. It's quite a story. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
I love it.
But in July 1st, 1996, I was in my bed. They had sent me to the farm. I had been there for 10 years. And never left that farm. They will never, if anybody left, they'd be in shackles and all that stuff, you know. And I became a baker. I was one of the best there is, you know. And most of the state people will always have their parties and get-togethers at the camps that I'm on. So if they open up a new prison, I will be the person probably that educate people, teach people, you know, about baking and etc. So July 1st, I was in my bed 4 o'clock in the morning. And the police woke me up. And this is what the police said. He said, Mr. Hardy. He never called me Mr. Hardy before. He called me Big O. Get up, whatever it is, you know. But he said, Mr. Hardy. And beside him was another man with a bald head with a suit on. Just had a ball come through the top of his head. And never forget this man. And he said, well, get up, you're going with me. Going with me? I said, I got to put my stuff in the bag. 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm thinking all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
They were going to kill me, hang me somewhere. But I walked out and I got ready to go out the door. And the police officer got all the shackles together to put him up. He said, no, you don't need no shackles for him. He's going to see the governor.
Wow.
I shocked me. Said, you going to see the governor. What's man? So he took me and they took me to the car and rode. We had to ride about 2.5 hours. And he stopped. He said, what do you want to eat for breakfast? First time I rode in 15 years that I rode in the front seat of a car. And he stopped and got me something to eat. Wow. And we went inside the restaurant in Carter's. Don't forget Hardy's. And we went on up to the governor's mansion. And once we got to the governor's mansion, the governor came down. And the governor spoke to me for about 45 minutes. And we talked about all kinds of stuff, you know. I mean, just stuff that had nothing to do with where I was at. And when he got ready to leave, he went to the door and he turned around. And this is what he asked me. The last question he asked me, he says, what is your intentions here? I said, well, sir, I want to make it hard for any man to follow me. He looked at me and laughed and started whistling and went out the door. The day I left the governor's mansion, he come to me. He brought my wife over there. He come to me. He said, you were right. He said, so far, he said, everything that has been, you have been a blessing. He said, those people that you with, he said, you're going to make it. And he said, anything. He sent me to St. Augustine College to register.
Wow.
He got me into St. Augustine College, and I went to school there. And then it's a miracle. I was telling Kellen about this man named he's a pastor at Eden Street, Reverend Tyson. He would come to the governor's mansion and sit with me. He the first man that ever loved on me, basically, you know, and shared with me. We would go to movies. We would go out to shopping. We would go whatever it is, you know. Now, I don't get out of prison until 2068, you know. But when I got with the governor, he gave me 20 years off my time. So my release date was 2048 instead of 68. Wow. So we had a party at the governor's mansion. I mean, with the troopers, and we eat cake. you know what I mean? We happy. But I can't afford to be sad. I can't afford to think about this thing. So I have to do something else, you know, to replace that. Right. And that's what I did. And July 4th, and that was the time when I was at the camp and all things began to fall in place. But I stayed there at the governor's mansion for 4 years. Wow. I was there for 4 years. And February the 15th, he came to me, and some man I've never seen before, and said, want me to come downstairs and talk to him. And when I got downstairs, he wasn't there. But he was over in the corner. That's my word to God. The man was over in the corner. Never seen this man. He was over in the corner, but Captain D.C. Falk, the man that came got me, He said, Otis, he said, let's talk about a few things. This man listening. I didn't even see the man's face, but I knew he was there. And we talked to him for about 25, 30 minutes, and Captain talked all kind of stuff, and he was my best friend. Mm-hmm. I had an office. He made me an office at the governor's mansion. I'm an inmate now. Mm-hmm. But he had an office set up. I had the only keys to it. Wow. And they used to get angry with me at the prison because I had an office, I had keys, and I couldn't. I mean, nobody could nobody could get in, you know. So all kinds of stuff that happened, you know, during this time. It reassured me who God was, that God was in my corner. Yeah. That's really what it was after years I thought about it. And February the 15th, he told me, he said, Otis, you're going home.
Wow.
He said, we don't need you no more. He said, you have no business here. The man that sentenced me was James C. Davis. He came to the governor's mansion. Wow. Yeah. Wow. He came to the governor's mansion. He don't even know me to this day. He didn't even know I was the man. The food that he was eating, the cookies and or whatever it is that he was eating, he didn't have no idea. Wow. So all this stuff came about because God placed people in my life. And look who he placed. Yeah. Through my foolishness, I was able to say, hey, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I repent, whatever it is, you know, because God showed me some great things in my life. Even to this very day, God showed me great things. And look at the people that he has me working with. Yeah. I'm the only African American on the board. I'm the only African American. Hey, to me, that's a privilege. That's an honor. Because I have a gift, so to speak. They say that I can talk to people in the community. We can connect with people. That's fine. We have no problem with that. And that's a blessing for me. And the people that I work with is unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. That's how you make progress in people's lives. That people is able to see that there are people willing to come in my neighborhood to care enough about me and love me.